Number 1. The poisoning death of Ryan Stalling. The third season of Unsolved Mysteries explored the case of infant Ryan Stallings after his mother Patricia rushed him to the hospital, where it was determined he had large amounts of ethyl glycol and ammonia in his system, leading authorities to believe that he was being poisoned. Ryan recovered as the parents were investigated. Patricia was convicted of his murder despite her claims of innocence and had another child while incarcerated. This child just started having issues while she was in prison, which led to the diagnosis of methylmalonic acidemia that was ultimately proven to have been the reason for Ryan's death, thanks to specialists who came forward after seeing the Unsolved Mysteries episode. Number 2. The Freeman Bible arson and murders. A mysterious case of arson at the Freeman family's mobile home was investigated in the 12th season episode after the body of Kathy Freeman was found in the debris with a gunshot wound, leading police to believe her husband Danny had killed her and taken her daughter and her friend hostage. However, Danny's murdered body was later found in the rubble by family members. The mystery deepened due to problems between Danny and the local sheriff's department, throwing suspicion onto them. Despite a long search, the missing girls were never discovered, and the case was unsolved for almost 20 years before Ronnie Dean Bissek was arrested and charged after Polaroids of the captured girls had been seen that implicated Bissek and two deceased accomplices in the drug-related murders. Number 3. The murder of Ali Bareilles. Unsolved Mysteries dedicated a segment in the 8th season to exploring the use of bloodhounds in criminal cases and abductions, like the case of the murder of Ali Bareilles, who was taken out of her front yard while her young brother watched after the babysitter went inside for a moment. The bloodhound was able to track her scent for nearly 40 city blocks onto a freeway, where searchers tragically discovered the young girl's body. Despite her brother's identification of the old man who took her and the apartment he lived in, no arrests were made despite numerous pieces of circumstantial evidence against the occupant, Nick Stouffer. It wasn't until years later that technology advanced far enough for a DNA match to connect the already deceased Stouffer to the murder, closing the case without charges. Number 4. The murders of the Rogers family. A 4th season episode of Unsolved Mysteries that focused on diabolical minds explored the unsolved case of the murders of an Ohio woman and her two teenage daughters, after their bound and weighted down bodies were found floating in Tampa Bay. The series followed investigators as they put together a profile for the unknown killer who appeared to have lured the family on a seemingly innocent boat ride before raping and murdering them. Oba Chandler was eventually identified by police as the murderer after his handwriting from a note was identified using billboards that then connected him to other attacks. Chandler denied involvement in the crimes but was posthumously declared serial killer after DNA connected him to another murder. Number 5. Vampire cult murders of the Wendorfs. While the case of the vampire cult murders that appeared during the 9th season of Unsolved Mysteries was in the process of being solved as suspects were already in custody, it's still one of the creepiest cases from the series that was thankfully closed. Rod Ferrell was the leader of a cult that was inspired by vampire stories and games, and forced to drink the blood of Ferrell for initiation. When Rod's friend Heather asked for his help in running away from her parents' home, he entered with an accomplice and bludgeoned them to death before branding him with his assumed vampiric sigil. Ferrell became the youngest person on death row for the crime after he was committed following the airing of the episode, though his sentence was later reduced to life in prison. Number 6. The Face on Mars. NASA launched its Viking 1 craft on August 20, 1975. Viking 1's goal: to find out if there's life on Mars. The craft's pods took thousands of compelling Mars photos, including depleted rivers, old volcanoes, and ice caps. The mission also uncovered a strange formation in a desert, a formation that bears a striking resemblance to a face. Some scientists speculated in a 1989 episode the face was an accident of nature, while others claimed something more was at play, something otherworldly. When a new spacecraft visited Mars in the 90s, updated technologies revealed the face on Mars is just a hill that looks like a face at certain angles. Unsolved Mysteries retired the file on this case in 1996. Number 7. The Mystery of Tom Hughes. In 1993, Unsolved Mysteries reported on a man who died of a heart attack at a Connecticut hospital. Hospital staff discovered all of the identifying information on the man, who called himself Tom Hughes, was fraudulent. When authorities became involved, they realized Hughes had been jumping from hospital to hospital across the country for months, seeking treatment for false ailments with the eventual goal of suing the facilities for mishandling his fake injuries. After the episode aired, viewers identified the man as the late Thomas White. White apparently suffered from Munchausen syndrome, which causes healthy people to make up stories about illnesses for attention. Number 8. The identification of Gabby's bones. An episode from 1993 delves into the creepy story of Newell Sessions. In 1986, Sessions found skeletal remains in an old footlocker gifted to him by his friend Gabby. Gabby claimed to have no knowledge of what was contained in the footlocker, which he told authorities he purchased years before without ever opening. Gabby later died by suicide during the investigation. The bones, upon examination, appeared to belong to a white male in his 50s or 60s. A bullet was found lodged in the skull. In 2017, the skeleton was identified as Joseph Mulvaney by his granddaughter. The woman, Shelley, told investigators the man known as Gabby was Mulvaney's brother-in-law, John David Morris. Shelley claims Morris did in fact murder Mulvaney, leading to another case closed in the Unsolved Mysteries universe. Number 9. The strange case of Margie Jelavchik. The story of Margie Jelavchik aired in 2001. A successful violinist at the Detroit Symphony Orchestra, Jelavchik returned home to Gary, Indiana after the tragic death of her husband-to-be, Nasser. Back home, Jelavchik became romantically involved with Randy Madjager, a member of the Outlaws, a felonious motorcycle gang. After months of displaying strange behavior, Jelavchik disappeared with Hager in September of 1997. Jelavchik's mother suspected foul play, but the couple was found living together in Mexico in 2014. Jelavchik died in a high-speed car chase with authorities. Yeager was indicted on charges of racketeering and conspiracy. Number 10. Wartime friends from Vietnam. A lost friend case. The story of Jim Pearson aired in 1994. During the war in Vietnam, Mitchell Shigemoto served in the U.S. Army. While many soldiers bullied and abused Shigemoto due to his Japanese heritage, one fellow soldier always stood up for him, Jim Pearson. After Shigemoto was shot during a battle with the Viet Cong, Pearson saved his life. Shigemoto recovered in a hospital before being sent home, never hearing from Pearson again. Thanks to the segment airing, Shigemoto and Mitchell were reunited in Hawaii, where Shigemoto now resides. Shigemoto was able to thank Mitchell for saving his life. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe.